The crystal plate shattered across the marble floor. The sound echoed through the vast throne room like thunder. 200 nobles froze. Guards instantly raised their glowing phase lances. And at the center of it all stood a single human. Marcus Cole. Broken pieces of iridescent ceramic glittered around his boots while purple sacred wine slowly spread across the ancient white floor. For a moment no one spoke. No one breathed. Then the High Steward stepped forward, his silver skin flashing bright red with anger. "You have committed sacrilege," he shouted. Marcus did not move. His eyes stayed locked on the alien woman seated on the crystal throne. Empress Vara. She sat tall and motionless, her silver skin glowing under floating lanterns that drifted like small moons in the air. Her golden eyes studied the human standing before her. There was no anger in them. Only curiosity. "The wine was poisoned," Marcus said calmly. Whispers spread through the chamber. Shock. Disbelief. Rage. The High Steward scoffed loudly. "That is impossible," he said. "The sacred wine is prepared by temple priests and tested by royal alchemists." Marcus pointed toward the spreading liquid on the floor. "Tholium compound," he said. "Nearly invisible. But human eyes see the difference in light reflection." Many nobles laughed. A human claiming to understand Valoran science. Ridiculous. But Empress Vara slowly raised her hand. The room instantly fell silent. "You are the human servant of Earth's ambassador," she said. Marcus nodded slightly. "I carry his luggage," he replied. Some nobles laughed again. But Vara did not smile. "And yet," she said softly, "you destroyed a sacred offering in my throne room and claimed to have saved my life." Marcus shrugged. "I only saw something wrong." The High Steward turned to the guards. "Execute him." The guards stepped forward. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. Marcus did not run. He simply waited. Then the Empress spoke. "Wait." The guards froze. Vara slowly stood from her throne. Her long silver gown moved like flowing starlight behind her. "Bring the fragments," she ordered. "And summon the temple alchemist." The next hour felt like an eternity. Marcus stood alone in the center of the chamber while nobles whispered angrily around him. Earth's ambassador, Chen, had arrived and now stood far away pretending not to know him. Marcus expected that. Humans were not respected here. They were barely tolerated. Finally the temple alchemist arrived. An elderly Valoran woman with pale grey skin and trembling hands. She carefully examined the broken plate. Then she studied the spilled wine. The entire court watched silently. Minutes passed. Then the old woman slowly stood. Her voice trembled. "Tholium-9 poison," she said. Gasps exploded through the chamber. The High Steward turned pale. "That compound was banned 3,000 years ago." "It is lethal to our species," the alchemist continued. "Death occurs within 2 hours." The entire court fell silent. Everyone slowly turned toward Marcus. The human who had shattered the plate. The human who should have been dead already. Instead, he had saved the Empress. Vara walked down the steps of her throne. Her golden eyes studied Marcus carefully. "What is your name?" she asked. "Marcus Cole." "You knew touching the sacred plate would mean death." "Yes." "Then why did you do it?" Marcus hesitated. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he answered quietly. "Because it was the right thing to do." The Empress watched him closely. But she could see something deeper. Pain. Loss. "Ambassador Chen," she said. The human ambassador stepped forward nervously. "Yes, Your Radiance. Your servant no longer belongs to you." Chen blinked. "I beg your pardon." "He will remain in the palace." Gasps filled the room again. "As my personal human advisor." Chaos exploded among the nobles. Angry shouting echoed through the chamber. But Vara simply returned to her throne. Marcus stood stunned. 3 weeks later, Marcus Cole realized something important. Valoran nobles did not argue loudly. Instead, they froze rooms. The council chamber was colder than Earth's Arctic regions. Marcus sat shivering at the smallest chair near the door. 12 Valoran advisors surrounded the circular table. They spoke about trade negotiations with the Cathrani Confederation. The discussions were going nowhere. As usual. Finally Lord Kthos leaned back and smirked. What does our human advisor think? Several nobles chuckled. Marcus rubbed his hands to stay warm. I think you're negotiating with the wrong people, he said. The laughter stopped. Lord Kthos tilted his head. Oh. You're arguing with politicians, Marcus continued. But the Cathrani aren't ruled by politicians. The room grew quiet. They're ruled by navigators, Marcus said. The guild that controls hyperspace routes. One noble frowned. How would a human know that? Marcus shrugged. I read your archives. The High Steward nearly choked. Those archives are restricted. Marcus blinked. The terminal in my quarters allowed access. The Empress slowly smiled. A mistake had been made. And Marcus had used it. But he had not used the information for power. Only knowledge. Interesting, Vara said quietly. Later that night, Marcus walked through the palace gardens. The only warm place in the entire building. Strange glowing plants grew everywhere. Floating insects drifted between branches like stars. Vara stood beside a silver tree. Its purple leaves were dry and brittle. My mother planted this tree when I was born, she said. Marcus nodded. It's beautiful. It is dying. She touched one fragile branch. It began dying when my mother was assassinated. Marcus looked at her. Poison. She nodded slowly. Yes. The same method. The same silent killer. My father died of grief soon after, she continued. I became Empress at 23. Marcus suddenly understood. She had been alone. For years. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Vara studied him. And you? She asked. What brought you here, Marcus Cole? He looked away. I had a daughter. His voice became softer. Elena. She died 3 years ago. The garden fell silent. Vara stepped closer. How? A shuttle accident. Marcus swallowed. One small malfunction. He laughed bitterly. Millions of safety systems, and one failure. For a long time neither spoke. Then Vara gently took his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth. Among my people, she said softly, sharing grief creates strength. Marcus looked at her. For the first time since Elena died. He felt something crack inside his heart. 6 weeks later, the assassination attempt began. Alarms screamed through the palace. Marcus ran toward the council chamber. Guards rushed past him. Nobles fled in panic. When Marcus reached the chamber, he froze. For dead assassins lay on the floor. Empress Vara stood in the center of the room with a phase blade. Blood ran down her arm. And more attackers were climbing through shattered windows. Marcus, she shouted. Run. He didn't. Instead he grabbed a fallen guard's weapon. And stepped between the assassins and the Empress. The fight began. Marcus had never used a phase lance before. But he had learned to fight long ago. Before education. Before diplomacy. Back when survival was everything. The first assassin lunged toward him. Marcus fired the weapon. A burst of blue energy threw the attacker across the room. Another rushed forward with a curved blade. Marcus dodged instinctively. The blade sliced his side. Pain exploded through his body. But Marcus didn't fall. He struck the attacker with the butt of the lance and fired again. 2 more assassins advanced. Behind him, Vara fought like a storm. Her blade moved with impossible speed. Still they were outnumbered. Marcus could feel blood running down his side. But he refused to move. No one would reach her. Not while he could still stand. Finally palace guards stormed the chamber. The remaining assassins were killed within seconds. Marcus dropped to one knee. Everything spun around him. Vara rushed to his side. Don't touch him, she shouted when the guards approached. They froze instantly. Marcus tried to smile. I'm okay. You are bleeding everywhere. I've had worse. She pressed her hands against his wounds. Silver tears rolled down her cheeks. Marcus stared at them in shock. He had never seen a Valoran cry. "You idiot," she whispered. "You should have run. You told me to run. And you ignored me." Marcus coughed weakly. "You're not my Empress, remember?" Vara made a strange sound. Half laugh. Half sob. She pulled him close. "Whether you like it or not," she whispered, "you belong to me now." Marcus woke in the palace medical ward. Bright alien machines hummed quietly around him. His wounds had been sealed. Regenerated. But someone was still holding his hand. Vara. She sat beside the bed wearing the same bloodstained gown. "You should sleep," Marcus said. "I already did." She hadn't. Her eyes were red from exhaustion. "The assassins were sent by my uncle," she said quietly. "Lord Kthos." Marcus sighed. "I suspected that. He has been arrested." "And the others?" 14 conspirators. Marcus nodded. Then Vara looked at him with serious eyes. "Do you understand what you did? I saved your life. You changed an empire." Marcus blinked. She leaned closer. "My people believed humans were weak. Primitive. But today a human fought beside their empress while her own blood betrayed her." Marcus rubbed his forehead. "I didn't do it for politics." "I know." She gently pressed her forehead against his. "Among Valorans, it was a sacred gesture. A bond of trust. I see you," she whispered. "And I am not afraid." Marcus felt his heart race. "Vara. You finally used my name." He smiled slightly. "It feels right." For the first time in years, Marcus felt alive again. Months passed. Human-Valoran relations transformed rapidly. Trade routes opened. New alliances formed. Earth was no longer ignored. And through it all, Marcus and Vara slowly built something deeper. Not rushed. Not forced. Real. Marcus still had nightmares about Elena. Vara held him through every one. And when the weight of ruling crushed her, Marcus stood beside her. The dying memory tree in the garden slowly began growing again. New purple leaves appeared. The palace gardeners called it a miracle. Marcus called it hope. Finally the day arrived. The anniversary of Vara's coronation. The throne room was filled with thousands. Alien ambassadors. Human diplomats. Leaders from dozens of star systems. Marcus stood beside Vara wearing ceremonial robes that blended human and Valoran designs. "Nervous?" she whispered. "Terrified?" She smirked. "I'm never nervous." "Liar." Her fingers quietly squeezed his. Then Vara stepped forward. "Citizens of the hegemony," she announced. "1 year ago, I stood here alone. My family was gone. My trust was broken. But something changed." She turned toward Marcus. "A human shattered the poisoned cup meant to kill me." The crowd murmured. "And what followed changed our civilization forever." She extended her hand toward him. "I present Marcus Cole. Hero of the Imperium. Voice of humanity. And, if he will accept." She took a breath. "My chosen consort." Gasps filled the chamber. Marcus stared at her in shock. Thousands of eyes watched. Vara looked nervous for the first time. Marcus slowly took her hand. "I will accept," he said. "Vara. My Empress. My home." For a moment the chamber was silent. Then cheers exploded like thunder. Later that night they returned to the garden. The memory tree was glowing with bright purple flowers. "It responds to emotion," Vara whispered. "It felt my grief when my mother died." Marcus wrapped his arm around her. "And now?" She smiled. "Now it feels hope." Marcus kissed her gently beneath the glowing branches. Above them the stars turned slowly across the sky. For the first time in galactic history, a human and an alien empress stood together not as ruler and servant, but as partners. And their story had only just begun.